Welcome to Chemo Coffee Talk, your weekly dose of resilience, inspiration, and a whole lot of heart. I'm Carly Fouth, a triple-negative breast cancer survivor who started this podcast right from my chemo chair, and now I'm coming to you straight from my kitchen. Whether you're fighting the fight yourself, supporting a loved one, or just here for a little encouragement, you're in the right place. Every week, we'll chat with my cancer-fighting buddies, caregivers, and experts, sharing stories that are real, raw, and uplifting. So grab your favorite mug, brew up some resilience, and let's dive into a conversation filled with humor, hope, and the unstoppable human spirit. I'm committed to continuing this podcast to reach and help as many people as possible, and any kind of support makes a huge difference. So subscribe and share it with friends. Your support keeps me going and helps me spread hope even further. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode of Chemo Coffee Talk. I am very excited today. I think I say that every single time in my intro, but I get really excited when I have a guest on the show that is like-minded to me about movement being medicine. And this person is somebody that I have never met in person. My husband played soccer with him, but I'm really excited to have him here because Michael Oehlmann is a cancer survivor. He is a fitness person. I didn't know him when he was going through cancer, but my husband was the one that told me he did battle cancer once he came into my world, and I saw him on Instagram. And then I was following him and heard a little bit about his journey from what he shared. And it's remarkable. And I just really like to talk to people who also understand how powerful movement is. So welcome to Chemo Coffee Talk, Michael.
Thank you. I feel like you're like my spirit animal from, thanks for having me. I love, I haven't talked about this stuff actually in a while. So it's going to be interesting and fun to kind of bring back some of the old memories and kind of share a little bit of what I went through that I know a lot of people can probably relate to, but also maybe can't relate to, and maybe they get a little bit insight into what that's like and, that kind of stuff. So
Awesome. Well, why don't we start out? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your cancer journey, when you were diagnosed, what that looked like, and then tell us a little bit about the role fitness played in that journey. Why don't we start there?
Yeah, sure. So just a little bit of a backstory. Just retired from the New Jersey State Police. I served for just over 25. And back in 2014, I had just finished filming. If anybody knows Shaun T, I had just finished filming a Shaun T workout that I was honored to be part of, Insanity Max 30. If anybody is familiar with those, Insanity or the sequel, which was Insanity Max 30. So I was in really, really good shape. My further background was I played soccer, as Carly mentioned, but I also went on to play professional soccer. So I was a professional athlete before I got onto the state police. And then once I got into the state police, I kind of let myself go, if you will. Like I was like, I've made it. I had very poor lifestyle choices and shift work. If anybody can understand what shift work's like, very difficult in the body and your health. And I kind of let myself go for years. And I got on in 98. And again, this is now 2014 13 actually, when it all started. But I was fortunate enough to get part of this workout program, and I got into the best shape. I was in really, really good shape, very in tune with my body. I was doing crazy like calisthenic stuff. And my arm started to hurt. My right arm started to hurt, and it got worse, and it got better, and got worse, and it got better. And I wouldn't, I couldn't leave it alone. I couldn't not work out and move. So I did what I could, but ultimately it got to the point where the pain was so bad that I was like up at night. Advil didn't do anything to it. Like it was so frustrating. And I went to the doctor, and they're like, we think you have a stress fracture. We took an MRI of the arm. They didn't take the whole arm. They took the shoulder, and they're like, we think it's a stress fracture, kind of like, don't do what you're doing. Like relax a little bit. So I'm like, oh, that's tough, but okay. Anyway, fast forward a couple of months, not getting better, not get like this back and forth thing, which I ended up learning is quite common with what we found out. So I got to the point where I'm like, I went to a couple different doctors. And I'm like, do something, please. Like, I can't take this anymore. They took a full MRI of the whole arm, and then it was like abundantly clear what was happening. If they had taken that picture earlier, maybe we wouldn't have went through the 9 months of what we went through, but they found a very obvious large lump, and the bone in my right, the humerus, basically chewed up, looked like Swiss cheese. It was like holes kind of like punched, looked like it was punched through. It was just dark spots everywhere. And it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a very common but aggressive form of it. And that kind of propelled me down this path, listen, I'm going to give a little bit of a caveat here, because everyone's dealing with a different type of cancer and everyone's situation is different. So for me, once I learned what this is, after the utter fear and just overwhelm for me and Heather, my wife, and the kids were young at the time. They were, about 8 and 6, I think. This was something that I was committed to, like, going all in on. Like, even like publicly, I was okay with sharing that. Everyone's not okay with sharing that kind of thing, which is totally fine. And I was going to kind of try to, very much like you, like, lead by example, lead by showing people, undoing the veil of cancer and treatment, and letting people in on that journey a little bit. And I think that helped, I was trying to help other people, but I was also trying to help myself kind of manage this whole thing, which I think we relate so well to, and on that front. And went through chemo rounds. Obviously, it was every 3 weeks. And what I did was, I think we're alluding to this, is what I did was I made, movement, fitness. I want to continue that with one arm throughout, the early stages until I can use the arm more. And this is where I say, like, I don't want to give medical advice, because, my doctors were a little bit like, we really don't want you to do too much, because we want you to save your energy. You need to, you're fighting this, and we don't want you to break your body down too much, because you're trying to get through this, right? The goal is to get to your next chemo treatment with a good enough blood, your cell count is high enough in your red and white blood cell count, so that you can receive the next treatment of poison, essentially, yourself, right? So you want to be healthy enough to get sick again. So this was this mental battle back and forth that I had to kind of deal, and physical battle. I would drag myself into the basement, literally trying to do anything, like 5 reps of anything. I was gassed, with low red blood cell counts. You can't process oxygen, and you're exhausted and you're tired. But I just wanted to keep going and showing up. And I think that, went kind of a long way. And on the nutrition front, this was another interesting thing. So I had, like, some of the doctors, one in particular was saying, be mindful of what you're putting into your body. I had told them I was using, like, this dense nutritional shake, and they were like, well, you don't want to put, like, too much nutrition into your body, because that could help your body too much. It was, like, counterintuitive to me. You don't want to be too healthy, but you need to be healthy enough. And then the nutritionist is saying, eat as much healthy, dense, nutritious food as possibly can. And, that's super important to getting through, because what you eat is everything. So I was, like, battling these two ideologies. And I think obviously I leaned towards the nutritionist, and I just wanted to make sure I was putting as much good food. I made it my mission to put my health as a priority. I think everyone does that when you're faced with a serious health, issue or crisis. And that's kind of like, I think what our mission is to, like, make it a priority before you get sick, right? Make it a priority before something happens, so that when you go into something, God forbid, you have to deal with something, you're in the best position to fight that. How is, Carly, you were in great shape and super healthy. I was in, like I said, the best shape of my life at 40 years old. And I'm 50 now. How did this happen? Anyway, that is.
Yeah, those are the questions, like, I started out asking, and I'm sure you did too. Like, here, I literally was the last person I thought would get a diagnosis like that. But I also think it's really interesting how you brought up the fact that the doctors were afraid you were going to do too much. And I think that there's still a lot of misunderstanding about how, yes, you can overdo it, but movement does help with the side effects of chemo. That when you're tired, sometimes moving will help you be less tired, as opposed to tiring you out more. So I think that must have been frustrating for you, as it was for me, because I was having all these great things happen to me, and you still had people being like, don't do too much, Carly. Like, you don't want to tire yourself out. But I also think it's great you brought up the point that it's great to get yourself into shape before something like this happens, because you knew your body well enough to be able to know what was okay for you to do during treatment, whereas somebody else who did may have been scared to push a little more. So
Yeah.
tell
And
us
that
a
does,
little, yeah.
maybe
I
doesn't
would,
fitness expert. Like you don't have
no,
to
no,
be
no,
in
no,
this
no.
place where you just need to be moving. I use the couch analogy, like on a Sunday, whether you're watching sports or you're watching a movie or you're like Netflixing it all. Like when you lay around all day, you just don't feel good. Like it's just the way it is. A body at rest stays at rest. Like you feel sluggish, you feel whatever. And if you get up and you move, you're going to feel better. And I think it's the start that stops most people from, because it's hard at first, especially if you're just getting into your fitness journey and, you don't see results right away, and you are doing the work and you're feeling the results of the discomfort because it's, new. And then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm uncomfortable. I'm not going to keep going. And like, they never get over that little, that
Yes.
discomfort.
How did you stay motivated to keep going on those days that were really hard? I know for me, there were some days I woke up and I needed Tim to remind me, like, this was the deal. You said you wanted to move 15 minutes. Once I got going, I was okay. But what were some of the things that went through your head, or what got you going when you felt like it was just too much?
I mean, family, I really
Yeah.
was like a huge motivator for, a young girl. I had 2 young girls and obviously my wife, and just like, I have to do the best I could possibly do, every day. And I had to lean on them, obviously, as you know, and anybody who's gone through this, like, there's a lot of crying. There's a lot of dark times. I'll give you an example. So let's see. So in 2015, the Thanksgiving of 2015, I had kind of planned the start of my treatment so that I would feel as best as I could between treatments on Thanksgiving. So I would be, good to go. And I usually am at that moment in the 3-week sequence. And that Thanksgiving, that day literally was the worst day of the entire treatment. I don't know what happened, but I did not leave the bed all day long. And that was probably the darkest days. And my family's out here. I can hear them. I'm in and out of consciousness all day long. And I was just in a really dark place, I think. And I was halfway through treatment, and you kind of question a lot of things. But how I stayed motivated was them. On a side note, I started teaching one group fitness instructor class at our local gym. And it was teaching insanity classes, which are not easy classes, because I was familiar with the background and the platform. And that made such a huge difference, to have a community of people. Like, if I'm showing up, they all showed up. Like, we had 80 people sometimes in this class, because they're like, well, if Mike's going to show up sick, like what's
It's like the ultimate guilt.
Yeah. Again, it helped me. I was showing up for them, but I was showing up for myself, selfishly a little bit, because I needed them. And I didn't realize I needed people so much. And the analogy I give is, if you pick your favorite sports stadium in the world, and you walk in and there's 10 people in the stadium, like, clapping for you, and then walk into the same stadium with 80,000 people screaming for you, like, it lights you up. So having a community, having people that are with you, and you know what? It can be literally like, hey, I'm thinking about you. Like, if you ever have someone who's going through something, like, you don't have to ask them how they are. They probably don't want to give that explanation, but just, I'm thinking of you, is like, that's enough, because we don't necessarily want to like go into it with everybody, right? Because you're like, it's hard emotionally.
It's old. Hard. Yeah.
Right. But doesn't mean that you don't love them for that. Right. It's just, that's a little insider secret. So when someone's
I totally agree.
Thinking about you, that's all. And you don't have to get back to me.
Right.
That's right. So anyway, that was the story.
Yeah, it's definitely like that community aspect is so important when you're going through something like this. And I think it's also a great way, and I'm sure you felt this way too, with the movement piece, is a way to control the narrative. So I know for me, I didn't want people to be pitying me, and I didn't want them to think, I didn't want cancer to take control of determining who I was. So this was my way to be like, no, I am still in control. I'm still going to show up. And that's a really powerful thing, I think. So I love that you brought that up.
Control, which is weird, because you can only control so much, but it's that control piece. Like, I define cancer, it doesn't define me.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what advice would you give to someone newly diagnosed who wants to incorporate fitness into the healing process, but maybe they don't know where to start? And this is I get a lot of questions from people who say, like, I was diagnosed, I really didn't do much before the diagnosis. Is it too late for me? Like, what should I do? I don't even know where to begin. What's your advice?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first part of it is like, well, even before that is like, it's like, please, you cry it out. Like, you need, so like, accept that part of this process, because it is a process, and just understand that all those emotions are normal. And that was something I had to cross that bridge first, where it was like, it's okay to feel the way I'm feeling. Like, it's normal. It would be abnormal for me not to feel this way. So once I crossed that bridge, again, for me, I was doing something, but I think my best advice for someone is we mentioned it before, but not absolutely crazy with a workout routine when you haven't been doing anything. Literally getting I call it a sanity walk. Like, getting in steps and walking would be a great thing to do. You can also do things, and you don't even have to follow a program, but you can do, like, hey, you were doing burpees, right? Like, the part of your journey, but you could do something like that. Like, I'm going to do every X amount of time or a day, I'm going to hit so many of these things, whether that's a burpee, whether that's like just sitting up and down, like sitting to a chair, getting up, sitting into a chair, getting up. Maybe it's like push-ups from your knees. Like, every hour I'm going to do 5 or whatever. Or you're going to have a number for the day that you're going to make sure that you get in, and you can break that up however you want. On the other end of that is like, you can start a program. There's lots of ones out there that you can do. There's free stuff on YouTube. There's apps that you can buy. But I would say, if you haven't been doing anything, is to start with something of a beginner program, and short and sweet, like literally 15, 20 minutes. This is not a 45 minutes to an hour type of thing. You do need to conserve some of your energy, but you will feel so much better once you move, and you'll sleep later. Like, you're going to sleep a lot. That's okay. Like, you're allowed to do that too. So yeah, that would be my best advice, is that, coupled with, you need to be laser focused now on nutrition. It needs to matter. Like, there's not, if I always use this analogy, which is like, you were given one body, and let's say you were given one body, one car, and that car that you have has to take you from getting your driver's license all the way till you're not driving anymore. And you're not getting another car. So you have to take care of it. You have to fix it. You have to maintain it. You have to do all the things that are required. It still might break, and then you have to fix that, right? So your body's the same way. And I wish people would just take it a little bit more seriously. Of all the things we have in life, what we ingest into our body, or the products that we're around, have the most influence on our health. So it's never too late to make changes. I always made small changes. I didn't just change everything all at once, but those things really do matter. And I don't think there's enough emphasis on that just in general in our society. So
Agreed. So how do you think your perspective on health and fitness and life in general has changed since your cancer journey? So give us one takeaway, or how has it changed everything for you?
Okay. So I told Carly I'm going to be very brutally honest. So
Yes.
I'm going to walk you through my mindset here, what happened. So when you get sick, the only thing you want in life is to be healthy again. Like, that's all you care about. And when you get really, really sick, you start to not even care about other things. And I hate to say that, like, your family almost, and they're a driving force for 100%, like the driving force. But sometimes you get so sick that they almost get blurry in the background, because you're just focusing on the moment and the minute, and you just want to get better. Okay, I say that because once you do recover, if you're on a path to recovery, everything is just like the grass is greener. Like, you hear the birds, you care about the things that you didn't necessarily care about before. And that is like the gift that I didn't see coming, the appreciation for the simplest things of life. I didn't see that part of it coming. So there were days where I would just feel good even during treatment, and I would just spend time like whether it be with nature or just myself, and just appreciative of everything that you have, even though you're still dealing with something. And this is where I say, I don't know where everyone's situation is. I don't know. So that everyone's situation is different. I just kind of knew I was going to get better, just statistically, and just the way I felt. I just kind of knew. So I just embraced that part of it and just only positive thoughts with that. And this is a glass half empty kind of guy that I am. So this was a different mindset that I had to take on. And then for the time after treatment, recovery, kind of the period like I think that you're in right now after finishing in your treatment in August, like everything is just, life is just better. Now I will say, and here's the honesty part, that years and years later, some of the things I didn't expect to crop up, like survivor's guilt, like thinking and like seeing people that I knew in my life have cancer, not survive, or, go through very difficult times. That part started to get to me. And then even just recently, not too long ago, and again, I'm about 10 years, outside of treatment, is that, you kind of like occasionally think to myself, like, well, what's the point? Like, what if you get sick again? Like, and like, what's the point? Like, why am I doing all the things I'm doing? I don't understand what the point is. Like, we're all going to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not a positive way of thinking, but I'm just trying to be honest about what happens, this like full circle moment of everything is the best it could possibly be. I quote unquote made it. And then this like, well, what's the point? You're to what end? Like just around the corner is another huge hole to step in or whatever. But, and that's just me dealing with that glass half empty kind of mindset. And I bring that up because mindset and your belief and your, that is more powerful than you think. The words that you say to yourself that matter. So if you don't think you're, a high performer or you're the best at this or very good at that, like whatever, if you're not talking positive about yourself, well, no one else is going to either. If you don't believe in yourself, you have to believe in yourself first before others are going to believe in you sometimes. That's just the way it is. So that's a long way of saying just how powerful, your mindset is either during cancer, after cancer, and even way after cancer.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because everything that you said, I'm like, yep, check. And I go through those times too. Like everything, I hate to say the new normal. I feel like that's used too much, but it is kind of a new normal. But you just get used to living in this space where you just have to live for the day. But like, so does everyone. I always think when those thoughts creep in, I'm like, well, I'm no different than anybody else. Nothing is guaranteed. I just know one of the blocks in my path that I am fortunate enough to know that I can get past it. If it happens again, I'll be fast tracked to get right through it. So yeah, I really appreciate your honesty. I think more people should be honest like that. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? I like to keep these episodes to the length of a really good cup of coffee. So just to wrap things up, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us, or any tips or what about what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, just, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I think that just having that mindset, that always keeping in mind that there are people that aren't as fortunate as you necessarily, or no matter how bad your situation is, someone might have it even worse. I don't know if that helps, some people that are really in a dark place, but having that community, having that support network as best as you possibly can, getting out and about. Obviously you want to be safe. You're you're going through chemo, whatever, and you're more susceptible to things. So just being outside and being in nature, I think that's important too, if you can. It's obviously harder during the wintertime. And then just making, regardless of your situation, making movement, making fitness, wellness, nutrition more of a priority. I got so involved in it that I actually partnered with a company that's what I do now. And I'm able to help people with, whether it be nutrition, whether it be fitness, whether it be just overall wellness. And that's been very rewarding. So this was like an unseen path that I didn't think that I would be going down, but that's impactful. And it to me, it's such a great cause, because giving that gift, I was talking to Carly before this podcast started, and just giving that gift. I love giving that gift to other people and just allowing them to basically manage and take control of their own situation more. And geez, what a powerful thing to give someone. And I think health, specifically, overall, the word health is the most magical of gifts. And you don't sometimes realize it until it's taken from you or almost taken from you. That's my top takeaway is that, because if you're listening and you haven't gone through something, I could tell you there's nothing you want more in life when you're not well, but that is to be well.
Great tip. Well, where can we find you? Let's say somebody wants to connect with you. I know you're on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. My last name's a little bit difficult, but it's Michael. Last name is Oehlmann. It's Oehlmann. I have an email address, which I deal with a lot, which is just mjofitness@gmail.com.
I'll put that in the show notes too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm on Facebook as well. Same name on Facebook. And yeah, happy to connect. If anybody has any questions or just general guidance, suggestions, I'd be happy to give you what's worked so well for me and my family. I didn't even talk about this, but my wife, Heather, 5 years ago, got diagnosed with a form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma as well. So we are very much in tune with dealing with cancer is like in a family. So please, by all means, reach out.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. It's so nice to talk to you and to meet you finally.
Yes.
And I hope you have a great day.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It was awesome talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today on Chemo Coffee Talk. I hope this conversation left you feeling inspired, uplifted, and a little more connected. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with someone who might need it, and leave a review. It helps me reach more people looking for hope and resilience. And remember, no matter what you're facing, you're never alone. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep moving forward.